Hello, hello. Mic check 1 2 3. Is this coming through? According to the feed, it appears to be working. We're going to just assume it is. In my 1 second. Refreshing the stream feeds. We've got Steam ready. All right, everything is live. That is fantastic. I really hope the audio is working because I can't really test it myself. Welcome everyone to Mapmaker Monday. My name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Today's stream is called Mapmaker Monday, where we focus on building a map live for you to watch, learn, and contribute. Today we're starting a brand new map, so there's no progress as of this moment. The map we're going to work on is, or at least the theme for the map is Temple Ruins. I would love this to be a community effort, and by that I mean we pick the environment, i.e. the biome and the design of the biome, and what kind of ruins. I personally was kind of leaning towards like some kind of ruins in the jungle, but I also think in a desert or like a Badlands setting would be very cool. So I'm open to suggestions or feedback on this. Just wanted to confirm if anyone is watching at the moment. I know we just barely went live. Hey, thank you, Atlam. Thank you so much. I was just about to ask if audio and video is coming through. Would love a moon god temple in a jungle. So like a temple to Saloon in the jungle. A weekend, whether it was with friends, family, or enjoying your hobbies or working or whatever it was. I hope your weekend was safe and fun and not necessarily boring, but uneventful, meaning nothing of crazy event happened. It died, he's back. Whoa, really? Huh. That's odd. Could be my internet. Hopefully that it doesn't become a trend. Who doesn't love a classic desert temple ruin? So at the moment, we've got a moon god temple in the jungle, or a classic desert temple. So we kind of need to decide between those two. However, I am kind of leaning towards the jungle temple personally. Hello, Anani, how you doing? So, how was everyone's weekend? Let's discuss that, and we will do a game replay momentarily. But before we do, I want to wait until we get a few more people to roll in, as it takes a few minutes for people to kind of file in after the stream starts. Dyson's like, yeah, I need about 50 jungle temples because Chult is endless. How are you doing, Dyson? Welcome back. Yeah, I guess so, Chim. Doing good, Dyson. Eduardo, what up, man? How you doing? Welcome back. You know what? Let's start a new map. We're gonna do, I'm thinking 60 by 60. And then I was vibing with a jungle thought there, so we'll do jungle. Let's do a floodplain. I like the idea of it being abandoned because it flooded. We got dense growth. No snow, that would be a little awkward. And we could do flooded, so that's great. And yeah, we'll do it at water level to take advantage of that floodplain. That's true, Dyson. Very true. So, again, I just want to say welcome, one and all. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Today's stream is called Mapmaker Monday. Mapmaker Monday is a map design stream. So, you get to watch a map built live and learn from my technique. And also, you can ask questions and you can give feedback and suggestions on the build, as well as share your thoughts on Dungeon Alchemist. If you have suggestions or feedback for the devs, I'd love to hear it. So during the stream today, we're going to be working on temple ruins. So far, we have just generated a map in the jungle, which is a good start. Mapmaker Monday, also known as Mac Makes My Monday. Thank you, Nani. I appreciate that. Very soon, we will be doing the D&D recap for my group. I know a lot of you are eager to hear what happens with my group this weekend, as it was our monthly session. We got together yesterday night. Yes, Eric, I'm sure, dude. Get some rest. Sleep. I don't need my DM, keeling over. But I do have a fun recap to share, a bit of info related to that. It was a fun little side quest session. As we, as a group, were, let's just say, we had felt, I think, a bit fatigued from like constant overarching quests that seemed like everything had to be done very quickly and, on a time frame. So it was basically the first chance we've had serious downtime in our campaign. And also, like, leading up to this session, we had like 3 months of downtime between the two sessions. And then we also wanted to do a side quest, so maybe the stakes weren't so high for at least just a little bit. And to be honest with you, it was very fun to do a side quest. I think the group really enjoyed it, and it also kind of allowed us to kind of network in the local area, which is something we hadn't been able to do much. I think I'm going to build the temple kind of central. So what I'm going to do is center the map out, kind of look at it here, get an idea of what I'm working with. Let's make the grid a little bit more visible for a moment. It'll be a useful tool for later. Let's see here. I think I'm going to, for room type, definitely going to use abandoned ruins, as it saves me some time, and there is a temple type. We could do like spider lair as well. I think that's usually a temple, but I could also add spider stuff to it. So I'm going to first off make sure in my settings for room drawing that all the, various aspects of room generation I want enabled are enabled. So I want floors, I want doors, I want windows, walls. You never use anything but grassland? Interesting. So our session starts, we get a courier showing up at our house, our bastion, right? It's a little goblin knocking on our door, pounding away, trying to get our attention. And I look out my bedroom window, see it, tell our paladin that there's someone at the door. He heads down to go check it out, right? So that's kind of the beginning of our session, just to give you a kind of an idea of how we started off. This goblin is short in stature, like maybe 2.5 feet tall, it seemed like. But our paladin is a Goliath, so they're pretty tall, so it's kind of hard to gauge. Anyway, they have a scroll for us that they're said to deliver to us directly. And our paladin, accepts the scroll, and before he does anything serious, like opens it, realizes that, that could have a trap or a magical nature to it, and wanted me to inspect it. And I appreciated that so much. It was actually so nice to see like our characters melding and him realizing that that would be something my character would probably recommend doing before we jumped into it. So we did detect magic on it, and there was some magic to it, but I think it was to keep it sealed and not allow anyone to peek into it who wasn't supposed to. And I recognize the seal on it as well as a local lord's emblem, who had like a kind of an interesting history as a mercenary and soldier, and was like well renowned, but he's also kind of been retired for a while. Anyway, he had asked us to come to his estate and help him investigate a troubling matter to him. His wife had recently taken ill, and I'm going to decide the dimensions here. 12 by 8 just feels so small. Let's do 12 by 10 for this first section, and then we'll do offshoot sections. Generate this first one. So this scroll basically was him asking us to come out to his estate and help him deal with a private problem. He was dealing with an issue, and he needed our assistance because he'd heard about our abilities and skills and thought we might be able to be the kind of people who could deal with the problem. So essentially, I immediately realized that this note is sensitive in nature, and he asked us for our utmost discretion, so I immediately burned the note, right? Hindsight, that might have been a bad idea, but also I think it was a good one. First off, he wanted our discretion. I don't think he even wanted his servants to know what was going on. So we basically arrive, at this location. There's guards there. We say who we are. First group of guards lets us through. Then we're at the front door, say who we are, kind of like a major domo, like a right hand person comes out, a servant, and they're like, hey, my master, is busy. What can I help you with? And we're like, hey, we're here. We were sent for by your master. They asked us to come here and help them with a problem. They sent a letter, and we came right away. And basically, they're like, okay, let me see this letter. And we're like, well, we actually destroyed the letter because your master asked for our utmost care and sensitivity in this matter. You can go ask him yourself. Tell him the fighting mongoose are here. Blah blah blah. So basically, that's our group name. It's a placeholder that we just haven't changed. Is the fighting mongooses. Anyway, so we essentially trying to decide if I want this door there, because that means that's the centerpiece of the map, right? And it's already on the side. Not liking that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually move this. Ooh. Wow. I just crashed it. Nope. Wow. I messed up. I didn't even save yet. I'm chopped. It's over. Luckily, we didn't have that much work. We're gonna reload DA. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Anyway, so sure, let's see if it'll recover. Why not? Anyway, moving on from that, the person realizes, that was a smart move and that their master probably wanted, discretion. So they escort us to their master, verify everything. We go in, have a private meeting with them. The lord of the house explains to us that his wife has recently taken ill. She has become distant, despondent, doesn't really talk anymore. It's like her mind has been lost, and she just stares at the fire all day and clutches at something. And so he's asked for our help because he called for a favor from like a fairy kingdom who owed him a favor to send their greatest, all right, let me save this first. Their greatest healers to come and assist with this issue, right? And they were supposed to send 15 fairies, right? But there are 16 of them there. So that's kind of the reason we're here, is to figure out what's going on. Why are there 16 fairies? Who is the imposter? And what's going on with his wife, if we can figure it all out, you know? So we've been charged with, you know, trying to investigate and then also figuring out who it is and then dealing with them secretly by, you know, taking them out to the backyard and dispatching of them in secret where none of the guests can see, because he can't risk having his name tarnished or people knowing what happened exactly, because he would be embarrassed. So essentially, he's doing his best to kind of save face, and we have to kind of just investigate everything and figure out what's going on. So that's kind of how the whole thing starts off. Okay, back to this now that I have saved. Just going to delete these windows because last time I tried to move them and it messed up. So now I've got a door here, right? I'm going to use this to my advantage. Dungeon Alchemist, once it generates a room, the door is kind of fixed in place on that room, unless you move the door and regenerate the room around where the door is now placed. It tends to like to place doors, you know, on a particular facing, and it gets really stubborn about it. But if you move the door manually to a location you choose, right? Before I do that. Yep, we got an even amount on each side. I like that. Okay, we're going to regenerate this room. And what I did to do that is I clicked on the room generation tool. I went to the third tab, which is the edit room tab. And then I selected this room. And now I'm going to just hit refresh. And now it'll regenerate all the objects around the centerpiece of the door. You know, that's a really good question, Dyson. I don't know. I do not know, because I never tried it. Okay, I'm liking that. So I'm going to save it. I might even change the door, but you get what I was doing there, right? I was just kind of regenerating it now with the door in this place. I'm going to try moving that window there. You know, we could try today and just see. I am not 100% certain how it'll work. At the moment, I was just trying to do like a flooded temple. That's part of the reason it's abandoned. However, someone could be doing a ritual in it. That's why there's torches set up. They're just working within the space, because it could be like a cross section of dimensional energy. And so it has to be done at this site or something. Who knows? I'm just making this up as I go. Anyway, so with that in mind, we're at this estate, this swanky mansion. The guy has offered us a pretty decent reward of 6,000 gold, which is 1,000 apiece. That's pretty good for a day's work, right? And because there's 6 people in the group. So we decide, yeah, we'll help him. And we ask a couple of questions just to get our bearings. And he tells us we have, you know, free range of the estate. We can ask anyone questions. Just don't tell anyone exactly like what we're doing, you know, and don't let it on what we're doing or like why we're there. So we first go in and start you know, in the group of a room in the central like room. There's like a ballroom with a piano and a swanky spread with like tons of food and drinks. And there's like 16 fairies in there. And the room has been locked and they've been kind of kept in there, and they don't realize that they're locked in there. And we have to investigate what's going on with them. And so we start talking to them one at a time, and a few of them are drunk, and they all kind of have, some of them have like similar names, and they all kind of look semi-similar, but have kind of their own unique look and feel to them. Different hair, slightly different, you know, wings, slightly different clothing, things like that. So it's like a Where's Waldo, but they all are kind of like slightly similar. Let's see here. So we've got this first section. I am going to get up above here, and I want to do some offshoot sections. So what I'm thinking is, here's 1, 2. Got 10 here. So we could do a central section that's like 3 going off like this, or 4, I mean, something like this. Well, no one had been murdered yet, per se. The lady of the house was kind of like in a trance state or lost her mind. We weren't sure if it was like magically influenced or if it was just she was sick, whatever. Oops, I accidentally did burnt house. Silly of me. So we just kind of were like tasked with investigating what was going on, right? We went into the room full of fairies, started kind of just asking them questions casually. Some of them were so drunk and like messed up, they couldn't really answer a question. What is going on here? Oh, don't be like that. Did I draw this just off grid? It looks like it. Look at it. I might have dragged the structure. That is so weird. Canary! So you should know, I kind of took your advice and I was like trying to figure out if I could affect my sleeping at all. Because I asked my Mrs. Mac, if like lately I'd been, you know, having trouble breathing in my sleep or whatever. And she said sometimes I snore and sometimes I like will kind of like and like wake up because I can't breathe. So she also kind of confirmed that there might have been something going on there. And I decided to look into some options for now until I could get in to see a doctor. So I basically went through and right, I went through and looked online at some options, read some stuff. One thing I found that was kind of economical and easy to try and didn't like, you know, just something simple was like a nasal strip option where it like gives my like, you know, just opens up my nose a bit and allows me to breathe better. And there's these magnetic ones. I got one to try, and I'll be honest with you, the last 2 or 3 nights I have slept really, really good. I honestly have, I don't know, it was kind of crazy. Anyway, that being said, appreciate the suggestions. I don't know why that wasn't like attaching right on the edge there, so I'm gonna just move it manually. Okay, what? That should attach there. And then we'll remove the walls on this side. That was really weird that I had to do it this way. I'm not sure why that was. I think I might have moved the initial structure off the grid just a little bit. Honestly, though, don't talk about yawning because that'll just make me yawn. So for right now, it seems like it's better, but, you know, we'll take it a day at a time. How about that? Sound good? That being said, the strips are like, I got to repurchase new little pieces. There's like these strips you put on your nose that have like a metal in them. And they're like kind of like an adhesive. And then you wear a band around your nose that it like kind of opens your nostrils and like allows you to breathe. Kind of weird to talk about, I know, but it's been like kind of interesting the last few nights. Slept, at least I feel a little bit better. Hadn't really noticed before, so. I don't like these windows. I'm going to delete those. We'll try a different window or break some wall. Right? Anyway, that being said, appreciate the suggestion. And we'll see how it works. Who knows? Maybe I may not even have to visit the doctor after all because this worked out. I'm going to put up a second floor here. Why, man? So weird. I should get a replacement nose. That's a great suggestion, Mandu. Very practical. But the little strips, it's like for a month, it's like, you know, like $10 or something. So it's not that bad. The magnet piece lasts until I break it or lose it, so that's good. It should be a while. These doors or these windows look interesting. Let's try that. I need one that's like too wide that can go in the middle of this. Get rid of the nose completely. You know what? Voldemort did have the right idea, if you think about it. Just cuts out the middleman, you know? Guess this one's not getting any windows. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Welcome back. So at the moment, I'm trying to get like a structure really quickly, and then we'll start decorating. Let's figure out our roof though. And a temple in the like jungle, right? So we could do like a plaster, maybe like stone like this. Like what do they call this? It's more like a, not stone, this is like a ceramic, right? What you eating for lunch today? I'm just trying to see which one of these I like the most. Breakfast time for you, Canary? It'll be breakfast time for me after this stream, so I get you. Flat roofs, interesting suggestion. Like that. Homemade beef stew, that sounds delicious. So I do what's called intermittent fasting. I kind of eat between a certain schedule, and it helps me kind of balance my caloric intake and keep my weight down, at least through diet, when I'm trying to like, especially when I'm starting to work out, which I've been doing more lately. Now that said, I only eat between like noon and 8 p.m. every day. Well, typically it's like 11 and 7 p.m. And I don't snack outside of that or eat before it. So I'll have my breakfast typically at like 11 noon. But that said, yeah, it's like a brunch. I do like me a breakfast food. I'm a breakfast guy for sure. May want some of these outside. Perhaps an attic we shall seek. That looks more natural there. We'll shrink this one down. Yeah, I can put nature up there. It'll be a good idea for sure. Okay, so we start interviewing the fairies during our game, right? Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. And, you know, the first couple we interview are kind of drunk because they're sitting near the crafts table and they're just, or the, you know, the food table, the spread, and they are just going ham, right? Anyway, they are kind of partying, our kind of people with the best insight and charisma start asking questions and getting to know people. Then we kind of fan out and see different things. Our kind of charisma, our Riz Lord, as we call him, he basically like got a really good performance check and played some piano for a bunch of fairies, and they were like really impressed with him. And he like got their attention. He was asking them questions and getting to know them, and kind of was doing a soft interrogation. And you know, other people were just being direct or trying to get to know people through like networking, because that was like my best skill. Because like, just like, hey, what's your skills? How are you helping, you know, heal the mistress of the house? I tried this, but it didn't work. You know, I was just kind of like trying to say I was there to help as well. And, you know, we were getting information from them. One of them told us like what everyone was there to do. And then we realized they had like a room they were staying in, and they had bags and stuff. So we left, went to go check that out to see. And we asked like, you know, the servant of the house if they saw anything suspicious. And we asked a butler if they saw anything suspicious, and he escorted us to the room and told us that one of the beds hadn't been touched, and there was only 15 bags, and there's, you know, 16 guests. So he was really confused, while all the other beds seemed to have had been like sat on or opened or used. So he was, you know, that was kind of his thing he pointed out. So we kind of investigated the bags and tried to match them up with each person. We couldn't remember everyone's skill set because there were so many, but we matched up a lot. Then we decided, because we wanted to go back and talk to the Lord of the House and kind of see if we could learn anything from the Lady of the House, because we have spells that, you know, like one of our guys has this, my son, the Riz Lord character, has a spell like he can read minds. I can't remember what the name of the spell is, right? So he essentially was able to kind of read like into her mind, and he was hearing something being said over and over again. And we wrote it down. We were looking at it like, what is this, right? And she was clutching onto like what felt like looked like a little paper, and we didn't want to like rip it or, you know, take it from her hand, because she seemed to be very despondent and like focused on that. So we essentially tried a charm person on her, and it worked, and she gave us the paper willingly to our fairy. And the fairy made her feel calm, and we looked at it, and it said some nonsense on it. It was code, and we realized we'd seen it before. We have these like cipher keys that are part of our campaign that the DM put together and gave us. This one's like a more advanced one that I purchased, but he makes like wooden ones. This one here, and it's like a cryptex essentially with like a code on it, and you can set a key and then type out the message, like figure out the message, like a decoder ring essentially. Detect thoughts is the spell. That's it. Sorry, it's not on my spell list, so I don't remember what it is offhand. Make sure I save really quick. So we essentially used detect thoughts, got that nonsense. I have a sentient dagger. I asked the sentient dagger if it recognized it or what it thought about it, right? And it was like, you know, it seems like something is up with her, like she, you know, might be cursed or like under the influence of magic. I don't recognize these exact words, but it seems like something's wrong with it. Like it doesn't make sense. Anyway, so we like deciphered it, and it told us, you know, basically kind of like what kind of person to look for. What did it say? Red wings, purple shoes, right? And she kept repeating green hair, which they all had green hair. So we kind of had a suspect finally, right? And we realized only one of the fairies matched that description. So we're like, okay, this is our prime suspect. Let's get her outside where we're supposed to take care of business privately, you know, get them outside. That was the job, right? Take care of this person privately without the other fairies knowing, being none the wiser. So we cooked up a plan, which I thought was rather clever. We had kind of set up two groups, which you never really split the party, but we had to. We had a group that would be a distraction. They would provide entertainment inside, some sort of display. Our paladin, he's like, I'm going to do the icy mountain haka. And I was like, cool, because he's like from some like far away ice mountains as a Goliath. And he's like, I'm going to entertain them with my haka. And then our fairy person, she's kind of a pacifist. She's like, I don't think I could watch or assist another fairy be tortured, interrogated, or possibly murdered. So I'm going to help be the distraction in here, and I'll do whatever I can to assist him with magic and anything to make it more spectacular, right? Hey, Nate the Great. Nice. I'm glad to hear you love DA. I love DA too. DA's my favorite. By the way, if you have any questions, let me know while you're here. I'd be glad to answer them. As, being the community manager of Dungeon Alchemist, I feel uniquely... you were like in a unique position to answer your questions, right? Anyway, so we essentially kind of split into two groups. Group A is going to go distract them. Group B is going to go outside because we kind of like opened a window curtain, a crack. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Inside when we were talking to like all the different fairies and we had a suspect, I peeked out the window and I was like, oh, what a lovely pond out back. And basically... I left the window curtain open a crack very, very particularly and strategically. I did this because I wanted to be able to see our target on the inside, the person who was our suspect. So I essentially, sorry, I'm going to make like a rooftop kind of spire here, like one more section, but I want it to have a pointed roof here. It could be broken. Okay. Okay. We'll just leave this for right now. That looks pretty good. Okay. So our plan was as follows. I have a spell called Vortex Warp. And it's a pretty decent spell, and I keep a few scrolls on hand now. I actually just learned it during our downtime. But basically, I thought it would be a good idea to use Vortex Warp to teleport this fairy outside to an area that was kind of isolated where we could interrogate them and learn more about it, what they were doing. Because it seems like they were actually keeping the lady of the house sick or not there to help at all or doing something nefarious, right? When we go outside, we learn there's a back way outside through the kitchen. We split our group. 2 go inside to entertain. The other go through the kitchen out back to investigate, if we can see this person and teleport them out when the timing's right. Hey, AJ. So we essentially walk outside and pinpoint the window where we need to go to. But when we go out there, my passive perception notices there's someone skulking in the dark behind the deck, kind of near the window we were going to. And it was a dark, shadowy figure. And we'd fought them before. I recognized it. It's a babao. Okay. I see one of them, and then I notice there's another one even further up. Okay, and then I do a deception because I was furthest up and I noticed them before anyone else. I do a deception check to act like I don't see them. So they're just can keep hiding and don't suspect that I saw them. I grab the person closest to me very carefully and I was like, I want to show you something by the pond over here. Please walk with me. And we walk over nonchalantly. And then we group up with the rest of the group, and I tell them I see the baddies, and we use that as an opportunity to get a surprise round on this first babao. So all of us just unload. I unload with a level 3. I think it was a spray of cards. So I teleported up with a Misty Step. Or no, I ran up as close as I could, hit it with a spray of cards, and then Misty stepped away. Spray of cards, level 3. Cool. I didn't get the full effect because it rolled high enough, but it still did some damage. So I didn't blind them, but I damaged them. Next, our cleric hits it with a level 4 guiding bolt. Okay. Then our coffee lock, Sorlock, basically. He opens up with a salvo of Eldritch Blast that he quickens and does like just keeps hitting. So, and then finally our fighter goes up and tries to hit him with a dagger. And he doesn't connect. So that was the only attack that didn't connect. The dude's like almost 2/3 dead on the first round of surprise. The round ends, starts over. We're at the top of initiative. We put him down before he's even able to do anything, right? The second Babao runs up, our fighter kind of interposes himself between him and that one and starts doing his business, right? He essentially is keeping him at bay, preventing him from, attacking us or hurting us, and getting near us. So just interposed between us and the bad guy. At this point, we essentially all kind of open fire on this guy and are trying to take him down as quick as possible because our friends are inside waiting for us to teleport out this dude, right? And we haven't, or this fairy, and we haven't done it yet. And I'm sure they're wondering what's going on. The plan's probably gone sideways. Our fairy friend inside kind of peeks out the window from their performance standpoint and sees what's going on, and to help cover everything, opens an ever-smoking bottle, or sees one of our people fighting or doing something, kind of slashing, opens an ever-smoking bottle, starts keeping everyone from seeing, and just like casting fairy fires, starts singing Pink Fairy Club, like everything they can to keep the fairies distracted and not being able to look out, right? So essentially this goes on, and they're dancing, our paladin's doing a haka for 10 straight minutes because the ever-smoking bottle doesn't clear right away. We fight for a few rounds, take out the Babao, and then we wait for the smoke to clear. And then as soon as the smoke begins to clear, they just go into it again and just open the bottle again. And right as that happens, we teleport out before the smoke kind of fills the whole room. We teleport out that one person who is our suspect, that fairy. And then we have them all surrounded on all sides by pretty much everyone. And a couple of people who are ready to throw a net on them. And so they basically had 2 chances to net this fairy. One of the nets failed. The second net got them. I got there using I misty stepped and then ran over, and I had manacled this person, right? And then our fighter put a bag over their head. So we essentially, because we thought they might be magical, could teleport or cast spells. So essentially they had their eyes were covered, their hands were manacled, and they had a net over them. So it comes to their turn, they can't do anything except for they're just angry. And then we try to intimidate them to telling us what's going on. The intimidation check fails with a 25, people. I'm not even joking you. The little fairy's like, you think that scares me? We're like, what the heck? And it finally gets a turn, and it shapeshifts into a abhorrent overlord. So it was a fiend in disguise the whole time as a fairy, doing its business, like, I'm assuming, being a menace to this family, causing all sorts of problems to the lady of the house, probably keeping her sick, or was the reason she was sick in the first place. So we essentially start fighting this thing, but guess what? Because it broke out of the net, by the way, when it transformed, so it wasn't netted anymore, but its eyes are covered and its hands are bound with manacles. It keeps failing the checks to get out of the manacles, so it can't take its eye covers off. Almost all of its spells and abilities rely on sight or somatic, so it couldn't do much of anything, and we essentially nerfed it from this very strategic decision, and we're able to just unload on it, and we had killed it inside of 3 rounds, and it only really got off 1 attack. It was great. It was quite hilarious. So we took out this abhorrent overlord and its 2 Babaos relatively strategically. Oh, by the way, as our friends finished up their like thing, they left the ever smoking bottle, and both of them, like as they just did that, used their misty steps to get outside the window to come help us. So like the whole group was out there fighting this thing. It was just hilarious. Oh, and I hit it with an amazing catapult. I had a ring of swimming. We were by this pond. I was like, I'm just going to swim out to these rocks here and use one as a catapult. It was pretty fun. I was like, I got this ring. I'm going to use it. Anyway, we were able to take it out like quick. Took its armor. And then we went inside and went to talk to the Lord of the house. And the lady was already better because she all of a sudden could like realize what was going on. And was like talking again because she was no longer under the spell of whatever that thing was, you know, the abhorrent overlord. So we essentially saved her. The Lord of the house was very grateful. We got paid, and one of our people in our group has like a secret society or something he's part. I don't understand it, okay, because I'm not in it. So, and I guess the Lord of the house is also like a member of that, and they recognized each other as like homies and kind of gave each other like a nod of some sort, like a symbol. Like I'm saying this out of character. My character didn't notice it or even like realize, but it was just kind of a fun situation. So we also, what else did we do that was part of all that? We, oh yeah, because the lady of the house was so grateful because she like was charmed and realized that like our fairy friend was trying to help her and was like, you know, trying to be a good person. She was so like taken by her and enamored. She's like, thank you so much. You know, if you need anything, please, you know, let us know, you know. And then basically the dude said he owed us a favor. So we were like, and they're dead and they're happy with us. So we made a connection locally who is like well established. So that's going to be good for us. So we might be able to get more work from this person, and we got some reputation, which is great considering we just kind of moved to that region. Kind of break some of these walls. What do y'all think? I want it to feel more abandoned and broken down at parts. Don't want all of them broken. I just want a wall here and there broken. I think that's part of the hardest thing about it, Canary, right? Is finding a group to play with, a solid group, you know, that is fun and vibes and, you know, doesn't have any drama and gets along. Once you nail that part, it's pretty fun. Like we've been playing for over a year now. So essentially, side quest complete. We got some money, got some connections. Great little session. Solved the mystery. Like Scooby-Doo and the gang. And now next session, we're back onto our like main quest line. But it was good to get a little palate cleanser, do something a little bit off the beaten path. You know what I mean? I don't think there'd be spiders on the water floor, right? Let's put spiders on one of the upper floors. They could have moved in through the windows and kind of taken over. You know, we do play online, but everyone in our group, like for the most part, knew each other prior. Like I knew everyone. My wife and I knew everyone. So obviously half the group is our family. My wife, my son, and I. Two of the group members are like a couple of my older guy friends that I've had friends for years. One of them I've been friends with for like, you know, close to 15, 20 years. The other one, almost a decade. And then our other group member, she is my wife and I's friend, and she's also a friend of one of the people I've been a friend with for like a decade. So there's a lot of cross friendship, and we all know each other. They actually used to be roommates for a while, so they like are good friends. Anyway, it's nice to get a group together that kind of has some chemistry already. And one thing I like is we don't really put a stress on playing a lot. We play once a month. And I think that's been part of our success is, you know, it allows our group to, you know, find the time they can each month and not have to dedicate too many hours as, you know, adults with families, friends, schedules, work, hobbies, etc. But I get it, Canary. It took a while to get a friend group together that, you know, all could commit to even a day a month. And I think that was the selling point for me, was saying, hey, you know, I'm trying to get a D&D group together. I miss you guys. I want to hang out with you. And I think, you know, we could try and make it work for one day a month. Like, you know, let's try our best to keep our friendship on this like one day a month thing, you know, where we hang out. And anyway, and I think that everyone agreed to that. It made it a lot easier. So Eric, our GM, is a professional GM, and you know, he's a paid GM, and I actually respect that. He is very talented and he does a good job. And the good thing about it is he's always on time. He's committed to our game. You know, and none of us have to worry about the DM aspect for our group, so there's no stress for that. We just show up and play. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that as someone who is very busy and, you know, has a busy work schedule, busy family schedule. So I appreciate that very much. And Eric, I met him through our community. Through his streams, I realized he uses Dungeon Alchemist, and I was like, oh man, let's check this guy out. And anyway, you know, did a one shot with him some time ago, a little over a year ago. It was such a success with my family hanging out with him and running that session. And then, yeah, here we are. You know, we've now run a group session with our group for over a year. But that's one thing, like, you gotta, you know, either have someone committed to DMing and setting up the sessions, running everything. That's why a paid DM's great if you just want to get a group of friends together that hang out. What's going on? Does someone need help with something? So any objects stacked on each other should move together as a group. Dan Gnome, that's the only way to do it currently, though. In the future, we plan to add some kind of grouping mechanism, like a lasso or a magnetism type situation where objects are grouped together and can be moved as a group, i.e. you can save that grouping, or you can, you know, share that grouping possibly. It's very possible that it'll be as soon as our next update. I haven't seen it in form or, you know, in function, but that's something the devs have on our roadmap right now, as it's something they're working on. Oh my gosh, Lizzie, you know what? I'm guilty of that when I watch streams of games I like, so I totally get it. Is anyone here ever, while you're watching the stream, accidentally try to control Dungeon Alchemist or change the camera view? You're like, wait, I want to get a closer look at that, or try to access the tools. Raise of hands. Who's done it? Who's guilty? Chim said she's done it. Chain items that can link up. There's like a pillar. Hold on. It is this one here, pillar chained, that can do it. And if you don't want to use this, I mean, there's some that are chained together already, like bollards and stuff, but you can shrink this down and hide it inside of another pillar that you want to use the chains between. So let's say you have a pillar you particularly like, right? So let's say you wanted chains between two of these pillars, right? So you would get that pillar and kind of hide it over the other one, and you could do two of these. So let's just chain these together. right? And make like a custom one. Make sure you disable collisions. That way you can, raise things up and down. For now, I think those are the only two that connect with chains. Like the pillar trolley can also connect to it. There's a few things, but those are the only two that do chains between them. There are some poles that do a rope between them. And I think, well, yeah, let's do... Yeah, so these will do a rope between them. Why don't you throw up a suggestion for that on the new suggestion board? Atlam, Asmodeus, can you type roadmap in chat, please, one of you? I want to look at more like stone temple doors. Maybe a ruined, broken door. Ooh, I like that. Like it's caved in. That's good. Or this one. I like that a lot. Thank you, Mandu. Don't really have any like broken temple windows, do we? Put these up here because they're like smaller. We'll do this one in the center. I like that. Little bit of a broken wall section here. Let's kind of raise the broken wall up to this area too. And I want to change the roof border. I kind of forgot I was doing that. Why is this not changing? Trying to affect the lower border. Yeah, because the top half portion isn't broken, huh? This is really irritating me. Why is this border not changing? It's changing the one below. Hello? I'm on definitely not that floor. I'm going to try something else here. Nope, you're right. I just, assuming because it says roof borders, I just think in my head, why isn't this working, right? I'm going to make this actually a room without walls. And then we can make roof borders of our own in any floor we want. And even mix and match it. So this gives us a lot more options. Now I can use these borders. At least I should be able to. One moment. You need to get out of here. This is driving me nuts. This should work here. At least on this one. Look, it's working there. Why am I having such a trouble today? I need some coffee in me. That's my problem. Blaming it on the coffee, not my ineptitude. Sorry. Hey, Fox. Shy, there's been a lot of changes to Dungeon Alchemist in like the last couple of years. There was a major AI overhaul just like a month ago that improved room generation. And then there was also a major update in July that added multi-level and roofing. So there's just so much to do in Dungeon Alchemist now. Been doing graveyard work for way too long, yes. Also, I'm not currently running a campaign, so pretty much the only maps I make are when like there's a community request or like... That makes sense? Also like that terracotta. Yeah, I'll take care of them when I'm on the next level. I actually like that. That matches the pillars right here, so that looks really good. Thank you, Anani. I appreciate you, brother. Getting those suggestions on the board, you know, really helps because then it's permanent. It's not just lost in this chat, right? Other people can vote on it. Other people can comment on it. It's just bound to get more traction. And my hand's getting a little numb today. My carpal tunnel's flailing up a little bit. Let me save, because remember, everyone, ABS. Always be saving. Dungeon Alchemist is great, but once in a while, you know, things can crash, especially because of the nature of early access. You're bound to run into issues here and there. So it's a good idea to protect your hard work by saving constantly. You can save manually by clicking save under the file menu or Control S as a hotkey. And you can also set up an autosave feature under the settings menu by going to autosave. Now remember, when autosave is set up and enabled, you set up an interval, so you could set it to anywhere between 1 minute and 60-minute intervals. It'll automatically save at that interval while you build. As long as this is checked, you've saved it, and you've saved the map one time manually. Meaning you have to go into File and go Save As and give it a name and a location for the file to go to. Otherwise, Dungeon Alchemist doesn't know where to save it to. So the autosave function relies on you telling it one time where to go. By the way, speaking of psychic damage, I was using a new spell I learned, Mind Spike. As a divination wizard, that thing is great because it constantly recharges my spells. I ended up only using like 2 spell slots during the whole combat encounter against 2 Babao and that demon. Hey, no worries, Anani. We'll probably go over the recap one more time as people filter in. So I essentially opened up with a level 3 spell, then went to a level 2 spell. Then I went back and cast a level 4 spell to recover my level 3 spell, and the level 3 spell to recover my level 2 spell. And by the end of the combat, I had only used like one level 3 spell or a level 4 and a level 3 spell. It was great. Yes, Mind Spike is divination. So it scales upward, and because it's a divination spell and I have divination savant now, I can, or like whatever it is, essentially when you cast a divination spell of level 2 or higher, it recovers a spell slot lower. So when you cast it as a 4, it recovers a spell 3 slot, and if you cast it as a 3, it recovers a level 2. Irish lad, you know what? You tuned into the right channel. My name is Mac. Welcome to the stream. This is the official Dungeon Alchemist channel. It looks like you're watching on YouTube. Just so you know, we're live on 6 different platforms right now on multi-stream. So if you have any questions, you let me know in chat, and I will answer your questions in real time, AMA format, which means ask me anything. If you are trying something out or wondering why something isn't working a certain way or wondering where something is, feel free to ask. Today's stream is great for new users of Dungeon Alchemist because it is actually a live build. We're building a map in real time so you can watch and follow along and kind of learn from someone who spent years making maps. So welcome to the stream and welcome to the community as a new member of the Dungeon Alchemist community. Let's see here. I need to change the stonework on these. I don't like it. Ooh, I do like that one though. What is that one? What floor is that? Let's ask. Well, shoot, it's got to be stone, right? Is it? What is that? Is it this one? No, that's not it. That one? Yeah, that's it. That looks good. Nope, that's not it. Which one is that? I am at a loss. Check all of these. Ruined, maybe? Might be a... Yep, it is that one. I'm dumb. There, we'll do the mossy one like we planned earlier. Now that we found it. I think that was kind of what I was getting towards this whole time. I appreciate you guys supporting the stream on whatever platform you happen to be watching on. Looking pretty good so far. So the temple, if you look at the base level, is submerged in water. And how I did this is before when I was generating the room, before I finalized the room generation, I sank it down into the ground a little bit. Because it's below the water table and there's a floodplain here, it automatically flooded the room. So the next update should have like what's called an asset picker. And there'll be like a little dropper right here. And so you can highlight an object and it'll go right to the menu where it is and tell you the name of it. So I'm pretty sure that'll work with walls, windows, doors, and all objects. Most excellent, right? Station. Let's see here. We need some moss-covered temple walls. I guess we could cover them with moss ourselves, right? Do you even know where you go, bro? Is it just me, or those seem like exactly the same, these two? I guess a little bit different pattern. Irish lad, you can drop tokens right in, but not for gameplay. It's more for immersion purposes. So, like, there's the token menu. You can grab a token and place it. So you have them in the map you built. So when you export an image of the map, you can see like a character on it, like an NPC. So it's not intended for gameplay. Dungeon Alchemist is a map making tool and immersion utility. What I mean by immersion and map making, we'll go over each. When you make a map, you can export it for your play style of choice, whether you play in person and you want like a printed map, or you use a TV tabletop or a projector tabletop with a digital map. Maybe you play online through like a service like a virtual tabletop like Foundry or Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT. Dungeon Alchemist is compatible with all those and many more. In addition to that, we have a partnership with a company called Kraken War Games, and you can export your maps and have them printed on neoprene mats that are scratch resistant, waterproof, last like a lifetime. So basically, you have almost any way you want to play. You can export your maps digitally and just use them on like Zoom or Discord, whatever. So when you drop a token in Dungeon Alchemist, that's where immersion comes in. You can actually click on the token, click on this eyeball icon. I call it the icon, and it allows you to walk around the map in first person and immerse yourself in this way. You could stream this view to your players over Discord or Zoom or Teams. You can record or take screenshots and use them as handouts for your players. This is a great way to immerse your players in between scenes, like when you're explaining new areas, or like, you know, it's their first time somewhere. Maybe a nice screenshot of the exterior of the temple they're just arriving at is a fun way to kind of explain it to them. Stormy, how you doing? Welcome back. Long time no see. How's things been? You also have this camera up here, the cinematic camera, which allows you to fly around like a drone. And you can use this to get all sorts of immersive shots at different angles. That broken door is really making it hard to enter here. I'll go through the back wall where it's also broken. So as you can see here, you can get in and take, you know, screenshots or video. You could do the same thing with the token, but the token's kind of locked in at a certain height. Wicker, Jack, that sounds really cool, actually. I think that is like an interesting suggestion overall, like with it, you know, the UI picking, you know, telling you which object it is. And I think the devs like kind of are on the same wavelength. I swear there's a video of it in action. Give me 1 second, I'll find it. Nope, that's not it. Kind of hard to tell there because you can't see the UI. So notice this little asset picker, like a UI icon. It's like a dropper. So essentially, you just click on that, and then when you highlight the object, it'll open up into the menu where it is. If you click on the object. Working on a project? What kind of project? Okay, so we're coming along here. We're getting some progress, right? Let me make sure collisions are disabled so I can have a little bit more control over the objects I'm trying to move. And I want to add more detritus and growth. Overgrowth is really important in places like this. You want it to look as overgrown and, you know, run down as we can is kind of my hope. Lots of shrubs and bushes and canopy, things just that are going to get in your way and slow you down. or you have to hack away at it to get through. You know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe I'm going for here. Hate how small that ivy is. You want to see a trick? Want to see a magic trick? You take a freestanding wall, right? Just snap it into place. I'm going to turn it this way so it matches the direction. I use this ivy. We're going to use the collision toggle, and it'll snap onto this. Now I'm going to disable collisions again. This wall can be resized, but the ivy can't. So I'm going to resize the wall. Now I have ivy that is full size. Notice it's trying to resize itself because collisions are on. So if you have collisions off, you now have much larger vines, canopy. You can kind of sink that into the ground a little bit, have some of it going up the wall. And it just feels a lot more like vast and grown. Some of these wall-based items, they have a set size and they're kind of committed to it, right? So, and when you see that lock icon, it's kind of demoralizing sometimes, I imagine. But when you have, you know, a little bit of workaround ingenuity, you can do stuff like this. Let me grab one of these moss here. We'll snap it on there. We'll do the same thing with that. Watch. Again. Now that moss looks way much more large. It's large and in charge. I'm working on it, okay? Moss and overgrowth, vines, ivy. We're getting there. Polaris, you have a nice day. An NPC generator? So are you like coding that right now, Stormy? That's pretty cool. Tell me more. Tell me more, tell me more. Why are you doing that, guy? That is obnoxious. Okay. Question, do people prefer a digital table over a regular table in a house together? Let's ask. Chat, what do you prefer? Roll the Coder over on TikTok wants to know. We're live on 6 different platforms, and most of the people here are DMs or GMs or players, so we probably get a good assortment. Let's ask and see what they say. Do you prefer, when playing in person, to play with a digital table over a regular printed map or maybe a theater of the mind experience? How are you playing nowadays when you play in person? Let's hear about it. Canary Riot says, I've only ever played online. So playing online, I'm assuming you use a virtual tabletop, right, Canary? Or like Theater of the Mind, or like a Discord call or something like that. So in my experience, when people are playing in person, it's a case by case basis. Some people are very like hardcore and prefer Theater of the Mind experience. They just sit around the table and kind of just imagine it all together like a shared hallucination. Some people love oh, thank you for the rose. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So some people love printed maps where they can put tokens on and kind of like props, 3D printed props or handmade props with like foam and, stuff like that. Others love the digital tabletop, where you just put like a glass cover or an acrylic cover, and then people could put their tokens right on it. Because it's player by player. Every player is different in how they perceive this imaginary environment. Some people have an amazing mind's eye, can see kind of everything and map out everything you say without an issue. Other people, though, really do need the visual feedback or sound effects or any type of thing you can help them kind of see and imagine it them from not just description alone. I do think having some kind of visual mechanism to share with your players, like a top-down map, is always a nice idea because the players will have more to interact with. The point of Dungeon Alchemist is to make maps that ultimately export in like a top-down, whether it's a flattened perspective or a kind of 3D skewed perspective. So, whether it's printed in person, a TV tabletop, or online, I think at the end of the day, though, I do feel the community's getting more immersive. They like to have a map of some sort, whether it's a printed map, a digital map. It does help. At least I've noticed newer players and younger players kind of learn the game more easily. Visual aid is good. Yep, it's always good to have. A lot of the people here are like, I've played online mostly, never played in person. Digital, hard to find people, local to stay. Online is my only option. My players are spread across 4 continents. What did I personally think of D&D Honor Among Thieves, the movie? It was funny. It was okay. They tried to stay true, with like a little bit of a Hollywood ring to it. And I think the movie was perfect for the D&D community at the time when it came out, because like most people were like trapped in their homes during the pandemic. So it was like a good, fun movie that did pretty well because a lot of people who are D&D fans were also trapped in their homes playing games online. That's the other thing too, Roll. A lot of people switched to online play during the pandemic and kind of never went back, because it's convenient. Once you've learned that and set it all up, it's really nice to have your people online. And some people play with a virtual tabletop on a TV tabletop in person because it has effects and spell, cool things like that. And like you can do like halos on your player to see their areas of effect. And like it's really nice to have a digital visual aid that constantly updates. My son, I don't think he would have ever gotten into D&D if he didn't have like a digital map or a digital visual aid. Because he just didn't find it interesting until it was more like a video game. Does that make sense? Polaris, what did you think of the movie? Did you like it? I think there's more players than ever, but I think in-person play is probably at a lower point. Especially in a digital age, a lot of young kids, they meet people online. My son makes friends online constantly, and I'm always like monitoring and making sure, but the thing is like, kids meet friends in school, and then after school, it's like maybe at work or in college, they make friends, maybe in their neighborhood. But I think we're becoming increasingly isolated by nature because of the like way things are digitally, and there's less and less third spaces that are free. You know, like there's less and less stores that allow free gameplay, or libraries that allow it and things like that. I think more and more, well, that's why part of the reason you get things like a D&D movie, and there's so many books coming out and a new generation of rules, and it's more popular than ever. That being said, I wouldn't represent like things like Hasbro's sales numbers to be indicative of how popular the game is, because the game can be shared for years and years with one set of books, right? So, hey Jordan, how you doing? Welcome. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to ask. During the live stream, it's a great way to get your questions addressed in real time. Don't get me wrong, videos and clips are good, but at the same time, they can be dated, or, you may have a question now you need answered, right? Nothing beats good old-fashioned hands-on customer support, in my opinion. We need more moss. Gonna have some just kind of growing out and being as Spider-Man-esque as it can be. Just an absolute menace. I think there's ups and downs to it. Playing online with people you don't know is kind of hard because the group can just fall apart with a little bit of drama, right? Playing online with friends you do know, it's easier to keep a group of friends together online, I've found, than in an in-person play, especially when you're all spread out with your families. And like, I have friends all across the country in my game. We have people in California, we have people in the same state, we have people in Arizona, I guess more across the Western US. So it is nice to have, well, and our DM is in Texas. So it's like, it's a little bit of everywhere, right? Pretty much from central US to the West US. We're all in different time zones, so it's nice to play online. We wouldn't be able to play with each other otherwise. Jordan, we do not double as a VTT, really. It's ideal as a map making program and an immersion utility. If you do use it as a VTT, it's really only a successful like for in-person play, because there's no multiplayer support, there's no dice rolling, there's nothing like that. So essentially, you build a map in Dungeon Alchemist and you export it to play in your platform of choice, whether it's in person with printed maps or a TV tabletop, like a digital tabletop, or online through a virtual tabletop, or just, sharing maps and images for like theater of the mind gameplay. But Dungeon Alchemist does export directly to major virtual tabletops, such as Foundry. So with Foundry exports, it includes all the walls, windows, doors, line of sight, lighting. So it includes the map, all the images for each level, and we support both animated and still maps for Foundry. So you could do animated maps or just still maps. All the wall, window, door, lighting information, line of sight is provided in the JSON file that is included in the export. And if it's a multi-level map, it'll include every single level of the map as either a JPEG or a video, and the JSONs for each of them. So you just have individual scenes for each level. So it'll export as a top-down in your preferred style, whether it's a flattened or a 3D perspective. Here, let me show you the export menu, in fact. I haven't really played 1D&D much, or 2024. I don't know the rules that much, so I'm not much to speak to it, in fact. The heck is that? Okay, so if you look here, the map is sliced into several images. So you have the ground floor, that's kind of the sunken level, then the interior second floor, and then the exterior kind of roofing third floor, and then finally the kind of spire top. So if you wanted to enter like the area below the spire, which for me it's just purely decorative, don't even need this map. I don't know why this one appeared. I don't know what this hole is. I want to look into that. But these, like this one, and this one, be perfect for this map. So you have the entry level flooded part of the temple, the second floor, and then the roof. And that would export depending on how you want it. So Foundry, you could do as an image or video. You can export it in a 3D perspective or a flattened top-down perspective. And then lastly, you can export if you want it in like grayscale or color. I don't recommend exporting with the grid present when you use Foundry or any virtual tabletop, for that matter, as your export option. If you're doing it on a TV tabletop or print, yes, export with the grid. But otherwise, you don't want the grid on because the grid tools in Foundry are far superior. You just set them to 5 foot and it'll match our map 100%. Maybe you want the grid to be, or the map to be scaled differently. Maybe you're setting it to 2.5 or 10 feet. That way you can do that in your virtual tabletop of choice without being limited by what we offer. Just, I didn't build anything over here and there's like a sunken spot over here somewhere. It's weird. If you look at like, see this? I didn't do that. What is that? That is so weird to me. Polaris, there are no servers for Dungeon Alchemist, so you don't need to worry about any server maintenance. It's all ran locally. So when you generate maps in Dungeon Alchemist or a room, you use your computer's local power to generate that room. There's no online servers for anything like that. The only server support is based on Steam, which is for updates or for access to the Steam Workshop repository of shared maps and 3D models. So in order to access those, you need an active internet connection and the Steam service needs to be live. If Steam crashes, Dungeon Alchemist will continue working. There probably won't be any updates until we can figure out some kind of solution. Like if Steam went down permanently, which I highly doubt, they're like one of the most successful businesses on the planet. I just read an article recently that per employee, they make like something like 50 million per year. They only have like 200 employees at Steam. So based on their like income reports, that's really high per employee amount. I'm not sure what talents is actually. If someone could explain it to me, I'd love to know. Weird, Chim. Yeah, I already filled in the hole, so it's too late. But I was wondering why it appeared in the first place. It was like confusing, right? So Dungeon Alchemist, we first off was conceived as a Kickstarter program, and we received quite a bit of startup funding from that. We were a very successful Kickstarter. I wasn't part of the team when that happened, but I've been told that we have enough money to stay solvent for some time. That being said, they plan to bring Dungeon Alchemist to, basically they have several updates that remain from the promised Kickstarter, update schedule. At some point, we also will leave early access. Once we leave early access, there still will be like patches, hot fixes, minor updates. And then we plan to offer things above and beyond anything we promised in our Kickstarter. I mean, you've already gotten a lot of things we never promised in our Kickstarter, like roofing and multi-level was never promised in the Kickstarter. But that being said, things like other, aesthetics or biomes, themes outside of fantasy might be on the menu. Those would be like an optional expansion, a paid expansion. So like maybe a cyberpunk expansion or a sci-fi expansion. Those might be on the roadmap down the road. That's where, you know, additional cost might come in because it was something that was never promised with Dungeon Alchemist. But there'll never be like a monthly fee or a season pass or anything like that. Only optional expansions or complementary software. One thing that I've heard them talk about is making our own virtual tabletop. I don't think turning Dungeon Alchemist into a virtual tabletop is a wise idea because it would get feature creep. It would be very hard to have all that in one tool, a map maker this expansive and a virtual tabletop all in one, right? So I think it's wise to keep them separate. One's the map making tool and the other is the virtual tabletop. And because they are made by the same company, they pair together like, you know, chocolate and peanut butter. They're like meant to be. Does that make sense? What was Irish Lad's question? I might have missed it. I'm sorry. What did he say? Seasoning packs, like spicy like cyberpunk. Oh my gosh, speaking of spicy, so all of the different fairies in our campaign session last night all had different personalities and they all had different ways to heal the lady of the house. That's why they were invited. All of their different magics, which my character kind of perceived most of them as snake oil. Like one of them was healing with light therapy, like candles and hypnotism. Another one was healing with like there was all sorts of stuff questionable spice therapy. And there's a member of our party obsessed with peppers and making a pepper bomb. So I actually like made sure that they got to meet this fairy because after I talked to them, I'm like, hey, you need to meet my friend. He loves peppers and has an obsession with them. You guys might hit it off. They're going on a date at some point in the future now. So my character set up our human fighter on a date with a fairy. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, it was quite an interesting session to say the least. I'm just kind of remembering some of the random stuff that happened and it was hilarious. Yep, you can use maps from the workshop. If you own a full copy of Dungeon Alchemist, you can access the Steam workshop and there's a repository of maps. So if you click browse maps, here, let me save a couple times first, just to make sure. If you hit browse maps, there's over 13,135, well, there's 13,136 maps that have been shared by our community. And you can access them, download them, and use them for your own campaigns or make adjustments to them. What sounds like a Christmas gift? But this player got a pepper at a tavern inn food place that was really spicy. He loved it, and he's kept it in his pocket for 6 months. He's the lowest int in our group, so bless his heart. He tries. He pulled it out, and it was just like. Anyway, it was hilarious. I didn't really set up a date. It just kind of happened. They hit it off because of both of their loves for peppers. They ended up kind of talking about going on a date. I didn't really set them up on one. It just kind of happened. Anyway, so anyone can share maps on the workshop back to that. So if you made a map and you're really proud of it and you want to share it on the workshop so other people can check it out, download it, use it themselves, you can share it. Additionally, you can subscribe and kind of save maps in a collection that you can, just access at any time. And like I said, I've shared, you can share your own maps. So I've got a whole list of maps I've shared on the workshop. So a lot of people in our community have shared hundreds and hundreds of maps. There is also an asset browser in the Steam Workshop. So Dungeon Alchemist's primary aesthetic is fantasy, kind of leaning into some steampunk, maybe some Victorian or like Western. It does a little bit of that, you know, those other things, but primarily fantasy. Our community members wanted the ability to import their own assets, so we built a tool called the Asset Importer, also under that Steam Workshop menu. You can import 3D models of all kinds, including tokens and other aesthetics. So modern, so here's like a car turned over for like an apocalypse scene. Here we have some animals, which there's not really any animals in Dungeon Alchemist short of a couple tokens. We got some lightning strikes. There are thousands and thousands of assets, almost 12,000, 11,855 to be exact. About 1,000 of those are just tokens that have been shared by our community. Does not appear to flood down here. Water physics are something that leaves something to be desired with Dungeon Alchemist, primarily because we have 2 updates on the horizon just to deal with water. Water worlds and high seas, so shipbuilding, ships of all shapes and sizes for different aesthetics. I imagine airships or astral ships and sea ships, probably all on the horizon with the high seas update. And then the water worlds update will give you things like water at different levels, water currents, water falls, maybe different water effects like eddies and whirlpools, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Water weather. I imagine you could just flood the room below, though, with water, right? Just add water yourself. Why isn't this filling in? I'm going to just leave it with just dirt, okay? So, yeah, it could be flooded, but then it's not like it's full. You know what I mean? It's like half full. Underground flooding, I imagine, will probably be made more streamlined when we hit water worlds, for sure. Which I don't know when that'll be. Our next update is Fun with Objects 2.0. After that, I'm not 100% certain which direction we're heading. So usually the devs will alert us to what update is after. Like which one it is after they've released the current one. You know what I mean? Oh! My sciatica is killing me today. So most of what I've done with this temple is just make it feel more abandoned by adding like roots and ivy and moss. I do feel like that's helping a lot. What other suggestions can I do to make it feel that way? More broken walls, some spider webs, of course. Let's go into the walls and add some more brokeny boys. We definitely need more assortment of these. Ay, ay, ay! Let's see here. The decals soon, for sure. Broken statues, rubble for sure. Detritus. We'll start adding that. I'll add some rubble here too. So it's like the wall collapsed on this side. So let's go into stone under, I think there's some in nature, but I also think under structural we have some. If you look under ruins, yes, this is the kind of stuff I'm going to want. Maybe like a broken column that's fallen over here. This is the rubble I was looking for. Debris, you know? Damn debris. These piles fit in too. You can even make it like a larger pile like that. Oh, that's great. Perfect. We can even do some inside. So one thing you can do, tropism, is you could put a hole in the roof, right? So if, in this case, like I actually made this roof actually rooms. This isn't a roof type. This is a room flooring. So I made a roof manually by making this section a room without a ceiling, right? And then put wall borders. So if you look at this here, I can now take and use the remove floor tool to like have a section broken out. And then I know that looks very uniform, but we can cover it, right? Let's put some broken stuff. Just a few like broken items on top of it and some like plants. Hieroglyphs, interesting. I might consider something like that. Now let's do plants. I think that'll go over better. So we can grab just some of like this kind of stuff, right? Have it grown over a little bit in one spot. It's not perfect. I agree. It would be nice if we could make it more like haphazard. But you get what I'm going for here, right? We could do a curved one, actually, instead of just a square. So what we would do instead, watch, we could draw a whole new room in here, right? At this level. I'm on 4. I was like, why am I not selecting this? This seems so high. So what we could do is draw like a room that's like a weird shape, right? Using like a curve bite. And that makes it look like it's completely broken, right? Not only does it a different part, but now we go into the delete floor tool. Now that's like a weird bite instead, right? Oh, there is one more up here. There we go. And then we could cover that with the broken stone. So it just looks like more like an interesting. Yeah, I'm thinking either like a stair on the outside or a hatch. This was just going to be a filled space in the end. This is just like a steeple at the top. Maybe a bell. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Kind of going as I go. You know what I mean? Eric, I was telling everyone about the session. I think they thought it was hilarious how we basically nerfed the abhorrent overlord. I think it was a very good call of us to separate dealing with that one independently, first off, instead of with that massive, like with the other two babaus, right? And then additionally, I don't know. I just found it very clever and interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure you expected us to how did you expect us to get the fairy outside the room? Were we just gonna yank her out the window? I don't think you expected me to teleport her out and then us to like completely subdue her inside of a round. Well, him, I should say, but she was acting as a fairy at that moment to us, you know. So it's like, it was so funny to just. Gotcha. I wonder if you often have like at least an idea in your mind how things will plan out, you know? But see that now, it just kind of looks like it's broken in a hole. Like there's all this stuff around. It took me a little bit to blend it well, but it looks good enough. Yeah, once we're able to, at least the freestanding walls, because soon object rotation's coming in. I don't know if y'all have seen all the new videos about object rotation that have been shared recently in our Discord. I've got some clips of it. Stand by. So the devs are working on object rotation right now, and they're working out the UI for it. This is actually an older version of the UI, but they're trying to figure it out and make it work within the Dungeon Alchemist ecosystem. I don't know. I just often feel like we circumvent a lot of Eric's like preparation or things that might have made it more like challenging with like just like a spell or something silly, like a random item. So I just laugh at it as all. This is the newest interface, I believe, with the kind of simple rotate icon and then the degrees. But the big thing is this like rotating objects to make it look like it's been flipped over or broken, or you know what I mean? It'll be a big game changer for Dungeon Alchemist when that finally hits. Dang, the stream's almost done, but I feel like I've gotten a lot done today. Like okay, the last map we built, we were working on stream was a massive cemetery, and it's so big. It's 85 by 82. It has so many graves, like thousands of graves, right? And it's not even done yet because it's all custom and done by hand. I feel like I bit off way more than I could chew with that map, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's like I don't want to finish it on stream because it's taking forever. Considering I only work on it like 1 day a week, it's taking too long. You know what I mean? So I decided to put a pin in that map, and I'm going to come back to, well, I'm going to finish it on my own time and then release it to the community. So I've been trying to put in like an hour or two a week on it until it's done. That being said, me being able to work on it 2 hours straight without answering questions, I can get a lot more done. makes it a little bit easier on me. And I think doing smaller, digestible projects on the stream that can be done in, say, a month worth of Mondays is a good plan. Was someone spamming you, Eric? Oh, gotcha. Well, anytime that happens, we'll take care of you. If any of you are getting spam DMs in our Discord from people asking for commission work, let them, kind of shoot themselves in the foot. If they're asking for commission work in DMs in our server, they're breaking rules. They shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be advertising or trying to get commission work from people privately. So if someone DMs you and starts asking for things, first off, be wary. Don't open links. Don't download anything anyone sends you. That's where Scammer Central is. But if they are going to try and, ask for artwork or anything like that, like, I've got nothing against artists doing work, but using our server as a place to advertise is not the way to do it. You know what I mean? Use your own social media, your own networking connections, and don't break our server rules that have been up and in place forever. So if anyone does that, set us screenshots of what they've done, because once they've, said all those things, they've already broken the rules and we can ban them. If they're just DMing you and saying hi, that's not enough, unfortunately. Ah, gotcha. Okay, so the exterior is definitely coming along. What do y'all think of this so far? Might even have a little broken spot on the front here somewhere. Might be nice. Yeah, you could definitely do something like that for sure. For sure, Irish lad. Yeah, there's a gentleman on Instagram who made a video for us for the turkey community. He's a really nice dude. I appreciate that. Honestly, and I wish, and I am so happy that Dungeon Alchemist is like a worldwide brand. We have viewers from all over the world in our streams right now. We're multi-streaming on 6 different platforms. We're live on Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Steam. And I do know that we have people from all over the world using our program. Dungeon Alchemist is actually made in Belgium. So I think with time, one thing we plan to do for sure is localization. And I think that's going to be after we finish development and left early access, because in the current state, localization is too hard for our team of 10. People want their Dungeon Alchemist in their local language, and I understand that. That makes sense. It makes it easier to use, right? A lot of tools, especially in the TTRPG sphere, aren't necessarily localized to different regions for translation or measurements and stuff like that. So I know y'all are troopers playing D&D in a foreign country using a tool that doesn't have any English or in any localized language. So I respect that. And I know with time we will make it better. We'll add different language options and preferences, but it will have to wait until we've left early access and have enough, time and manpower to do so. And the app is in a state where it's solid enough that it won't be needing drastic changes to all of those localizations. Man in Black, it's a conspiracy. MIB. So let's talk about what we can add to this next week. I want to add more detritus, more stones like falling, more broken walls for sure. But I'm open to suggestions if anyone has any ideas. Animals, okay. Like some gators or something, or some birds. Elboo, how you doing? Can I just say that today's stream was an absolute success? Had so much fun hanging out with y'all today. Appreciate everyone that dropped in. Whether you were just chilling out in the background, kind of lurking and watching, or you were actively chatting, appreciate you both very much. Our mods today, thank you for being here and supporting the stream from that aspect. You know, sending out links, answering questions. Those that were actively providing support to our community members in chat, whether you are a mod or just a community member, thank you for all you do. I really appreciate you making this space feel inviting and welcoming to anyone that comes in. Our next stream is this Saturday. It's the Damn Show again. But this Damn Show, there's no interview. It's the Damn Challenge segment. Mathis Forever, a lot's been added in the last few months. In July, we had a major update that added multi-level and roofing. And then in, was it September or October, we did a quick patch that helped with room generation because like it just makes the room generation make more sense. It's more logical in how it places objects now. How many screens do I have? A lot, actually, Bard. So I have 3 right now, but one of them is an ultra wide that's split into multiple displays. So I have a side screen that's just my chat feed from my chat bot. It's a vertical monitor. It's a wide monitor turned vertical, and that's all it's really for, is like long chat feeds, books that I read when I'm, at my computer, whatever. The top screen, there's one above me, and that's my production feed. That is my stream software and the multi-stream chat, and any music or anything up there, I control it on a second computer and a second screen. Then right in front of me, I've got an ultra-wide monitor that is normally split into 2 displays that are right next to each other, so it feels like one perfect display. Even though it is one display, I like having apps, like a game on one half of it instead of the whole thing, or have something on the side like a browser window and a game on the other. So in this case, the game is Dungeon Alchemist on one side, and on the other, I have a split browser window that's half Steam and half TikTok. So I like watch a TikTok feed, I watch the Steam feed to watch for chats. I also have a multi-chat feed that has YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch in it above me. I have chat everywhere, so at any moment I see the chat feed and can respond to it. That's part of the reason I feel like I'm really responsive to chat, is because I'm constantly looking at it. A lot of streamers make the mistake of not looking at their chat feed often, and that will kill your viewership because people like to be interacted with. So if you're streaming and you have a chat feed, make sure you check it like once every 20 seconds or less. Thank you, Mathis. I appreciate it. Honestly, we've been working to improve. We have another update just after the new year, it looks like. That'll be the second part of the Fun with Objects update we launched in July. It'll have the ability to rotate objects on any axes, most likely grouping objects and copying and pasting them, maybe even sharing those groupings. There's a whole bunch of stuff we're working on behind the scenes right now. So yeah, this Saturday though, if anyone's interested, the stream will be at noon p.m. Pacific time. That is 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC. That'll run for roughly 2.5 hours. It will be a multi-segment stream. The first segment is news. The next segment is the Dam Challenge, where we'll highlight maps from the Healing Dam Challenge, which is the current theme. If anyone wants to enter, you have between now and end of day on Friday in your time zone to submit your Dam Challenge map to the Dam Challenge channel. So make sure you get your entries resolved and submitted so you have a chance to win that $10 Hero Forge gift card and have your map be the first map featured. I think I'm going to extend the Dam Challenge segment to try and feature as many maps as I can, if not all of them. And then we will not have a Dam Workshop segment because it's weird to have the Dam Challenge segment and then also the Workshop segment. I feel like it should just be a longer challenge segment. I'll talk to Wim about it, but I'm pretty sure that's the route I'm going to go. Either way, after that, we'll have a Dam, let's see, a Dam feature segment where we showcase a couple features in Dungeon Alchemist, and then we wrap up. Okay? All right, everyone. I had a lot of fun today, but we need to wrap up that stream. Hey, I noticed we had a follow and some likes in the last like half hour or so. I just want a quick shout out to Unauthorized Dice Roll. Thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Patrick Davis and A Beard's Tale over on Facebook. Thank you for the likes. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. If you enjoyed the stream today, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow, share, whatever it is on your platform. Please do so. That way you can spread the word about the platform or about the stream to other people in maybe your social media community or your stream sphere. As we are a small indie company, we don't have a ton of advertising. Word of mouth is primarily how we get spread around. And so it means the world to us when you tell your friends, family, table, DM, associates, whoever, when you get together with your mass groupings of DMs and talk about what map making tools you use. Obviously, you mentioned Dungeon Alchemist, right? Because that happens normally, right? Anyway, thank you everyone for being here on the stream. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We're going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and then we're going to wrap up the stream. We'll see you all Saturday. Well, I guess next time I give a damn, right? Mac out.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before—
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have to the
Fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered mapmaker, on Steam today.
Thank you for being here, everyone. There's the tips and tricks section on the channel is pretty good. We'll be adding more and more to that throughout the year after, well, now that the holidays are kind of like in swing, we're kind of waiting for that section of the year to be done, and then it'll be more new videos and tutorials coming in, okay? Yeah, that's the thing, Irish lad. Like, I've made a lot of videos in the past, but because we're in early access, like, the videos become outdated really quickly. So there are some older videos, but you can watch, but then it's like, it's not really relevant anymore. There are some tips and tricks videos that are relatively modern, good section of our, I think there's a playlist for it on our YouTube. And I'll be adding more and more to that as we go. Okay. But definitely tune into the streams or drop in our Discord if you need any assistance or guidance. In our Discord, you can spin up a question thread and we can walk you through it, you know, take a look at your map, share images and videos. It's a really great way to get support if you need it. And of course, if you need any, you know, walkthroughs or have any questions, just drop in and let us know. Everyone, have a wonderful day. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. Arteris, sorry, you just got here. Hello, goodbye. See you later.